I'm Kara, and welcome to Soul Inspiring Business. I believe that all of us possess unique gifts and talents that allow us to serve the world and our own growth in the highest possible way. Our lives are an expression of our thoughts, beliefs, and actions. And here, we will explore businesses, thought leaders, and topics designed to inspire, helping propel your own growth so you can live your best and most purposeful life. Welcome to Soul Inspiring Business. Welcome back to the Soul Inspiring Business podcast. I'm your host, Kara Chaffin Donofrio. Thank you for being here. And it's really incredible. Just over the past week, I've heard from several people that have talked about, they love the podcast or they love different episodes. And sometimes I've maybe shared this on the podcast before, but sometimes it feels like I don't know exactly who's listening. And I just am kind of putting out this content to hopefully inspire you or someone or, and really just teaching on a lot of the things that I love to talk about and that I love to help people get and understand, because I think that this podcast was really designed with the idea of, as it's called, soul inspiring business. How do you lead a soul inspiring business in life? How do you align your gifts into your business? Really, because I think when you do, you have the ability to make a bigger impact in the world. And so that really started as a passion project, and it's very much grown into well over 100 episodes now. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being part of this journey with me. Thank you for sharing it with others. And I guess an ask would be, if you do love it, if you would share it with others, or if you would put in a review or a rating, because that really does help me get the word out to more people and helps other people find it too. So that's part of the overall mission, is to really grow the message and impact more people. So today, what we're talking about is I'm going to give you a particular code called 100-fold, the code of 100-fold. And really, it's talking about money. And money, of course, is a hot topic. It is, especially right now, where there's, many people that have it, many people that don't. And there's all these different money stories that we have inherited from generations, from our own parents, from our grandparents, from generations from long ago, that we carry with us. And so I think that, I've done a lot of work around my own money story and some of the patterns and the scarcity and the, that I inherited, having grandparents that grew up in the Great Depression, and how that affected my mom, and then how it affected me, and all of these things that we carry with us that are unconscious. But I believe that the more we can shed a light on them, the more we can heal from them and realize that you don't necessarily have to carry those stories anymore. You can break the pattern and you can write your story anew. And so I guess, this isn't specifically all about, it's about the code of 100-fold, which I'll explain to you. But I do think it's important that we understand that there are conscious choices that we are have the ability to change these money stories. And sometimes we may need help with it. I know I mentioned my business coach on this show a lot. Her name is Jen Cudmore, and she's been incredibly helpful to me in helping me clear some of those, I would call them unconscious blocks, that didn't even know I had. And as she has given me more awareness to see what are the blocks that need clearing, and helped me pave a different path towards more abundance in all areas of life. Abundance isn't just money. It is, how can you do your work with more ease? How can you have opportunities align more easily for you? It can show up in a lot of different ways. And it starts with the stories that we tell ourselves. So what I wanted to gift to you, or what I was able to work out with Jen, is a special special package for you where if you're interested in doing any type of work with her, she has this special package that she created just for the Soul Inspiring Business listeners. And she'll do one private session with you to go through brand archetypes, which we've talked about on the show before in the earlier episodes. She and I also had an episode, the 100th episode together, which you can go back and listen to if you want to learn a little bit more about her, about how she works. But this special package will be listed in the show notes, and it's just for you all. So I'm excited to share that with you. So if you feel called to it, if you feel like it's something that you could benefit from, it'll be there. And I hope and have the intention that anybody that's meant to find it will. And then, but I do think, again, it's really important that we understand that there are sometimes these operating systems around us that are operating in the background. And the more, again, awareness we can have of those, shedding the light on those, we have the ability then to let them go and decide what we want to carry forward and what may not serve us anymore. So, but specifically this code of 100-fold, I actually learned this from Jen, but I didn't really understand it. So I'll tell you what it is, and then I'll share my experience with it and how I came to understand it more fully. So this idea is that when it comes to money, now I'll tell you just personally, even though I preach abundance, sometimes I do get kind of, because of just, again, these like generational patterns and these things that have unfolded in my own life. And really a lot of it has been generational with my parents and grandparents, that sometimes I get hooked into feeling like, oh, I'm not going to have enough, even though it's a little irrational because I have more than enough. Right. And so sometimes it showed up in, maybe a fear of hiring somebody that I may deem a little bit more expensive than I've paid for before. And so there's this idea of, like scarcity. Am I going to be able to have enough to be able to afford this person? Right. It can show up in all sorts of ways. But the idea of the code of 100-fold is that when it comes to money, when you are spending money on something, whatever it is, whether it's something for the business, whether it's something personally, you're doing it with the intention that that money blesses the other person, the company, the whatever you're spending money on, whoever it goes to, that it blesses that person or people by 100 times over. And so I was taught this, and I kind of generally thought about it. I thought, oh, that's a great idea. That's like lofty. And how wonderful would that be to feel like, okay, any money that I spend is just going to bless the other person by 100 times over. And then it came up for me more recently because we were on a family trip. We went to the Bahamas, and it was a really amazing trip because it was canceled and rescheduled because my son had a ruptured appendix a few weeks ago. And so we rescheduled it. So we get there and I'm so excited, and it's beautiful and it's all of these things. And well, definitely more expensive than I had realized. And, again, beautiful resort, but I just wasn't thinking that the dinners and everything was going to be as expensive as it was. So I was sort of tested a little bit with, again, stories of like, oh my gosh, like this is a lot of money. Like, is this really what we need? Like, kind of going into a little bit of scarcity. And then, but, we're there, like we are in it. And so I thought, well, if I'm going to be here, if we've got to go out to dinner, if we have to go, we're going to spend money on things because we're on this amazing vacation, then I'm going to shift how I see it. I'm actually going to shift into this code of 100-fold, which I remembered. And I'm going to choose that whatever we spend money on, whoever receives that money is just going to be blessed 100 times over. And I kind of finally got it. Like I sort of I'd learned it before, but it really just sort of sunk in because it actually changed how I chose to see the spend. And I think what's really an important distinction is that when you're kind of shifting into this idea of the code of a hundredfold and choosing to see money in this way as you spend, it's not permission to spend unwisely. It's not permission to spend unconsciously, or to say, oh, I don't care because I'm just going to, I'm going to spend a crazy amount of money because I'll just choose that it blesses everybody 100 times over and not be, I guess the best way to say it is to be unconsciously spending in an unwise way. But I think that when you are consciously choosing to spend money and consciously choosing to see it and set an intention that, okay, if I want to create an amazing family memory and maybe I'm not going to do this package of excursion, but I'm going to do this one and I'm going to choose that it just blesses people in our path and anybody that receives this is blessed 100 times over. It really does shift how you show up to that experience, or it shifts how you see it. Now, again, I'm using an example from our vacation, from our trip, but you could see it as, for example, if you know, there's things that you've got to spend money on, whether it's in your business or if it's just personally, well, I've got to spend money on gas. I've got to spend money on groceries. I have to spend money on, you know, whatever it is, right? That's maybe even a necessity. Um, Again, it doesn't mean that you are not going to be conscious of how you spend the money. I mean, maybe you still need to look and see what is within your means to spend. But you can do it with a different energy because instead of the money going out and you feeling like, like a retraction energy of oh my gosh, I can't believe it's this expensive, or oh my gosh, I can't believe I have to spend this, or oh, all the like mindset things that go on in your head when maybe you're paying more than you think you should, or more than you expected, or whatever it is. There is a shift that occurs when you can see it as a way of blessing others and a gratitude in it, where you can also, I think that's kind of the piece of it, is to say, wow, like how blessed am I that I can spend this money? How blessed am I that I have something to be able to give? And I'm going to give it with an energy of love and blessings. And I was in a conversation with somebody who, it's sort of more on the, I'll call it woo, but a circle where there's a belief right now that that we're in this kind of year of great change and year of decision points in terms of how we want to choose to move forward in the world. And there's a lot of different like prophecies and people in different circles that have prophesied about this year of 2025 being a big year for this kind of choice, this conscious intention that we as a soul and a humanity get to decide, okay, how do we want to live? Um, and I think there's two choices. We are being pulled into, do we want to move forward in the world through fear and operate in fear, or are we going to move forward in the world and operate in love? And I think, again, that's sort of bringing it back to the code of a hundredfold. You can see it in a similar way, right? If I'm going to choose to move forward in love, I'm going to choose that, again, anything that I move forward in, that I'm going to do it consciously, and that I'm going to choose to bless others with all the things that I'm grateful to receive. And um and so it's a patterning and an awareness and an opportunity to see the world from a different lens. And I think that those choices really will further refine and define your experience. And for those that choose to move forward in trust and love, I think that more opportunities will open up, because that is from the book The Go-Giver, which I know I've referenced multiple times on this show. Uh, it talks about, the law of reciprocity and the law of giving and receiving. And so the code of a hundredfold is not meant to necessarily be a code where, like, you're not meaning to do it so that, oh, well, I give you this, therefore I receive back. But that also is part of universal law: as we give, so we shall receive. And so you may not see how that is going to come around to you in that moment, because you're not giving the gift, you're not spending the money with the energy that it's not being done with the intention of selfishness and it comes back to you, but by the nature of the law of reciprocity. As you give and as you pour into others, so shall be done to you too. And that is kind of this circle and gift. So I think that, again, as a in the world right now, there is this, and we talked about in the show last week, how there's a lot of manufactured fear, and we really are kind of being pulled in a lot of different directions. And so it's super, super important to stay really centered in into your own power, into your own soul and essence, because people are attracted to energy. And when you have the energy of grabbing at things, as to like wanting to hoard everything to you, then you stop the flow. You stop the universal flow that is meant to be part of the world. I mean, just look at the ocean and the natural ebb and flow of going in and coming out of the currents of the waves, and how, there's storms and then it's peaceful. And so we're not meant to stay in one place. We're meant to continue to evolve. And there is a natural ebb and flow in markets. And I think that when we can stay grounded in who we are, grounded in showing up every day with the field of possibility, with an energy of how can I make a difference? How can I create an impact in the world? With an energy of, I'm going to choose that whatever I spend on is going to bless other people. Whoever I give my time to is going to bless them 100 times over. You don't even have to use it as, I mean, money is a currency, but joy is a currency and love is a currency. And that's why love and money are so connected, because they're both currencies. And so, how are you showing up? What currency are you putting out into the world? Because the world will mirror that back to you. And so if you can show up in a place where trusting that I don't need to hoard everything. Now, I'm not going to be smart. I'm not going to be unwise, right? I'm going to be smart. I'm going to be capable. I'm going to show up every day and ask God for guidance on where I should be and how I should show up. And, how can I make the biggest impact? I'm going to be aware of opportunities when they come up, because I'm a natural gifted, smart business person. And this is how we choose to show up every day, right? These are all the things that you can tell yourself, but you're going to do it with the energy and the spirit of giving, the energy and the spirit of how can I be a gift in the world to others? And you can do it the code of a hundredfold as well, and use that, whether it's money or giving of your time or whatever it is, that you're just going to give with that energy, spend with that energy, so that you become a blessing to others. You are the gift, you are the blessing, not in an egotistical way, but in a way of, how can I be a better human? How can I make a bigger impact? And I think, as really again, going back to like the point of the podcast and when we first started, it's really like just that. How do we show up and be a gift to others? How can we bless others 100 times over throughout the day with a kind word, or and an awareness of how we are showing up in the world. It really starts with that. And then from there, allowing that awareness to shift into being a gift and a blessing to all those that you're able to be in touch with. So, with that, I hope this is helpful. I know for me personally, it was like, some of those times you learn things and then I was able to apply it. I was like, oh yeah, this is what this feels like. And it really did shift everything for me on the trip and in how I'm looking at things moving forward. So um, I just wish you a beautiful week, a beautiful day, morning, evening, whenever you're listening to this. And again, thank you, Steph. Thank you so much for really just being part of this journey. I appreciate you. Until next time. Loved being here with you today and would love to connect with you more over on Instagram. My handle is linked to the show notes, or you can just type in @Kara Chaffin Donofrio. And I have something special for you as a free gift, my Dynamic Life Journal. This special book has the power to really help you live a soul-inspired life. Go to freegiftfromkara.com. Easy to remember, freegiftfromkara.com. Until next time, beautiful people, sending all my love.